It is time for us to try a maple treat and learn about collecting sap the old-fashioned way. So this morning, we are taking you to Naper Settlement for its Maple Sugaring Day. And joining us is Ernie Klappmeyer, the museum educator. Good morning to you, Ernie.
Good morning.
Okay, I've heard of maple tapping. Is the maple sugaring process what happens afterwards? Tell us what it is.
Well, the maple sugaring process, or the maple syrup, is just a matter of boiling down the sap. It takes 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup.
What?
Now today they have technology that can do it fast, but in the old days, this is the way you do it.
Wow.
Over the fire.
So that explains why when I get a nice quality maple syrup, it's very expensive, right?
Well, I think that they may be giving you a deal.
Oh, is that right? Because it takes so much work.
Oh, it takes them a total amount of work, and they only have a short time to even get the sap from the tree. So you have maybe a week to gather the sap, then you have to process it. So here's some people who are living off of a few weeks of work and hoping they can stretch that for the rest of the year.
Wow, I didn't realize that. I've seen the maple trees in some of the areas with the buckets underneath, but I had no idea that you only got a week to get them, and then you have to process it fairly quickly. So explain to me from A to D exactly what the process involves and what stage you're at right now.
Well, right now we're in the reducing part, boiling it down. It would start by tapping the tree and gathering the sap. In the old days, it would be taken to cauldrons that would be over fires in the woods. And after you've reduced it down, maybe half, a little bit more, then it would be moved inside. And that way, they can watch it more carefully. Because once it gets down to syrup and you're working over an open fire, you don't want to burn something that you've worked so hard to get.
Oh, this is true.
So you want to be careful at this point that you don't lose it.
It's liquid gold, isn't it?
Well, and even more than that, think of the past in terms of what this flavor means. We're so used to all the fancy flavors that we get in food today. But in the past, this is the hungry time of year. You've eaten most of last year's food. Wow. Now to be able to add that little bit of sugar, that maple flavor, I imagine it would explode in your mouth. It would be something you would be craving for.
Oh,
just anxious to get that first taste.
I love your description. You're so good at this. Now you're making me crave maple syrup. Okay, but this year, the warm weather, I am told, has had a bit of an impact. What's happened with the sap as a result?
Well, what you see here is old sap. The big difference is that when you're harvesting, you harvest by nature schedule, not by a calendar based upon what you're going to be doing for the public. So we gather the sap when the sap is running, and that happens just as that tree is starting to thaw out and the outer rings have warmed up enough that the tree is pulling that moisture up. And you can get so much sap because it's so close to the surface of the tree. Now, when you start seeing buds, that means that the core has thawed out and the sap now is running through the middle of the tree, and you certainly don't want to be drilling into a middle of a tree if you want to keep the tree.
Oh, very, very interesting. So that would not be good if we were relying on this as our food source back in the day, from back in your day, I should say, right? Okay.
Even more if you just think of the economics of those people today. They don't want to kill their product also.
Sure, that's very true, right? So tell me, why is maple sugaring important in telling America's history? You feel like we can follow maple sugaring and realize what America's history is about in some ways?
Well, the history of food is important. One of the things that, as museums, we want to remind people of the past so they can appreciate the luxuries of the present. In the past, life was one of work all the time. Today, we work for vacations, don't we?
Right.
Yeah, we do. You work for food.
Wow. Okay.
So the importance is just to remind people that our fathers and forefathers worked very hard to give us all the luxuries that we're living with today.
I got to come out to the Naper Settlement. You are awesome to listen to, isn't he?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Hey, basically, just in a paragraph or less, tell me a little bit about the history of Naper Settlement. Why is it there? How did it get started?
Well, Naper Settlement as a museum started in 1936 when the last resident of the Martin Mitchell Mansion, Caroline Martin Mitchell, passed away without any children, and she gave over 200 acres of land to the city of Naperville with the stipulation that the house be turned into a museum. And for decades, that's what it was, your little country museum. Then in 1969, parishioners of a local church donated their chapel to the city because it dated back to the American Civil War. It was moved to the grounds here, and from then on, it's been a constant building, acquiring, preserving, step by step, the history of Naperville, as well as the history of the Midwest and the United States.
Very interesting.
It is. It is. Yeah, fascinating. Okay, well, and it's open to the public now, so we appreciate you coming in and giving us a little preview of what's been going on. Fascinating to hear you talk. Seriously, it was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We're here from 1 to 4 today. Hope to see you out here.
Awesome. We will be coming out soon. Let's make a road trip. What do you think?
Did he say he was working with Old Sap? That's
A bunch of old saps.
That's going to be my new Twitter handle, I think. Yeah.